Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, and welcome to another edition of the Grand Boulevard Coalition. The Grand Boulevard Coalition is a community-based organization that's focused on underage drinking and drugging in the Grand Boulevard community. And tonight, my guest is our former past president, Miss Roxanne Burnett, of the Green Light Movement. How are you this evening?
I'm great. How are you?
All right. And this is a live show. The number is on your screen, 312-738-1060. 312-738-1060. You have to remove your glasses. All right. And make you look younger.
If only.
Well, okay. Listen, this is, so we're in a new year and a new season, Roxanne. So many of our viewers tonight may not know much about you and your background, and even the Green Light Movement. So why don't you share with the viewers tonight?
Okay, well, a
little bit about yourself and your organization.
Okay, I'm Roxanne Burnett. I'm actually a registered nurse, but also the executive director of Green Light Movement, an organization that works with youth, nonviolence through community service and entrepreneurship. Because we are so involved with the youth, it only made sense to be a part of the Grand Boulevard Coalition, as we are located in Grand Boulevard.
Okay. And could you talk a little bit more about the initiatives of the Green Light Movement? Because I know you work with a lot of young people.
Yes, we do. We provide mentoring, of course, entrepreneurship training. Normally during the summer, although we are retooling them this summer, we have the hot dog carts out, and we teach them how to start and run a business. And we use the hot dog carts as a model. What that's also allowed us to do is to push them to be more involved in their community, which is how we get them to be more involved with what you all are, what we are doing in the Grand Boulevard Coalition.
Sure. And just as a shameless plug, you can tell I like to eat, but I love those turkey Polish sausages. I'm telling you, they're just the best. But anyway.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah. And so it's a good thing. So we're talking, ladies and gentlemen, and last week, just to follow up again, because I know this is a hot topic about parental involvement and parental education as it relates to curtailing underage drinking and drugging in the community. So Roxanne, you know, we've received several callers who call in, and some struggle with the issue around what should parents be doing and looking for as it relates to underage drinking and drugging in the community, right?
Yes.
And then the other thing is the educational component. How involved should the schools be? And I know that you've been involved in several schools, so it's a two-pronged question tonight, because I know a lot of pressure is put on parents. You know, as we deal with a lot of society issues, with its violence, its drugging and drinking. Of course, you got some parents, which I disagree in this. You know, several of them called in, but I just disagree with them that allow their children to drink and use drugs in the presence of them rather than doing it outside. They think that's the appropriate way of being a parent. Now, I know you're a parent and you work with several young people, so why don't you just give us your spiel on that?
Okay, well, initially, the first question you asked was about parental involvement. Green Light Movement, actually our CEO and founder is my son, Janon, what he's known as in the recording world, but Roxanne Burnett. He decided to start this, and being a good parent, I know that if I don't watch my son's back, somebody else may offer to and not have his best interest at heart.
Okay.
So it's important as a parent that you are constantly there to watch your child's back. You have to educate them. If you don't talk to them, the streets will. That has been proven time and time again. So I have 3 boys, all of which are creatives. One draws, one does sculpting, and Jerron writes music.
You have 3
performs.
boys?
3 boys.
I only thought you had 1.
No, I have 3.
Okay.
I have 3.
All right.
And as a parent, my husband and I have made it, we've made a conscious effort to be a part of anything that they wanted to do, so that we could see that they're doing things in the right way.
Okay.
Caller.
Oh, well, it looks like we have a caller. I didn't want to stop you.
Oh,
but,
okay.
But we'll take the call. Go ahead, caller.
Let's
You're on
take
the air.
call and I'll finish my thought.
Hello?
Yes, caller. Go ahead.
I am so glad for a mother who cares. And not saying that there aren't mothers who care, but I'm trying to figure out, we got these communities that we want drug-free. Why don't we turn in these little boys and young ladies who's out here selling these drugs that's tearing the communities down? I don't think we need that underground economy. We need a safe environment for all children as well as old people and anybody to walk down the streets without fear. I'm not saying the cops are the best, but we got to help them out to clean up what's wrong with our communities. Now, that's all I got to say.
Well, thank you for your call, caller.
Can I
appreciate
respond
it.
to that?
Go ahead, Roxanne. Yeah.
I agree with you 210%. Unfortunately, a lot of us have come to the conclusion that if I tell, I may be endangering myself or my children. You can do it anonymously, and I don't understand why people don't, because I'm going to tell you on television that I have, anonymously and unanonymously. I have to protect my family. And if it means calling the police because you're doing something that's illicit, illegal, or endangering the well-being and the welfare of my family and myself, believe me when I tell you that I will. Now that's the problem. Until we change that mindset, there are only a few of us doing it. And yeah, you have to develop a relationship with the police officers. We've done that, and it has been a very positive experience.
Yeah.
Every police officer is not a bad police officer.
I agree. And to that point, caller, so I agree with you. And I talked about this on, I think, our first show. It is one of those, it's just a strange thing that I can't explain why, and I don't, even in Grand Boulevard, since this is the Grand Boulevard, the Prevention Coalition, GBC, as it relates to our area of focus. But everywhere I go in the African American community, it's just, it is really painful to get out of your car, to walk down the street, and you have to be inundated with Lucy, Lucy, Lucy's. Loud, loud, loud. CDs, I mean, I don't even want to, the point of the matter is a constant underground, so I agree with you, caller. And certainly I live in the African American community, but I don't, and I would not, on my block, tolerate anyone selling drugs on my block. So I agree with you that parents, people, we all need to get more involved.
Absolutely.
There's got to be a space where the community and the police can come together to solve the problems. In fact, from our standpoint, in drug-free communities, we partner with police departments, we partner with the city. In fact, the Alderman's office is a coalition supporter and a member.
Yes.
Just because of those issues. We've got bad actors, businesses that have closed down. We just had a well-known establishment on 35th Street. I don't want to give the name, but they had Golden Arches that had some issues, and they're better now. They've so far cleaned up their act. They closed, and they've made some changes that'll be better for the community on the 35th Street corridor. We'll see how long it lasts. But my point is that we all have to be responsible. But we also have to deal with the fact that, you know, there's a serious problem with economic and education deprivation in our community. And so those issues certainly need to be addressed on a larger scale. But short term, it takes us, citizens, parents, community leaders, business leaders, to get involved. I think we have a caller. Caller, you're on the air. Good evening, caller. How are you?
Yes. You know what? This is I'm a first-time viewer.
Okay.
And I'll be watching every week from now on. My point is this. How many more 9-year-old children that get assassinated and nobody knows anything? They ask, please turn yourself in, or please, if you know anything. You know what? From now until 25 more years, until there's no more children left. My dad never hit me. All he did was look at me, and if he raised his voice, I was punished 3, 4, 5 days, and everybody else was outside. So, but I guess all of us when we're growing up.
Well, listen, and caller, thank you for your call. I understand your frustration, and as a father of young children, I hear you. You know, I've not been silenced on this issue of violence in our community, right? And in many cases, drugs, alcohol, you know, especially certainly marijuana is a gateway drug to start experiencing all other kind of hallucinogenic type of drugs. So I feel your frustration. I've been active in trying to deal with it, but I think at the core, just to address, even though we're talking about drugs and having drug-free communities, I think the core of it is part economic, part social, part educational, and then fourthly parental. And when we get in, which is part of what our mission is dealing with the education of trying to educate a community, working with parents, working with schools, working with community leaders to try to change, and even local elected officials to try to change the conditions for what you've talked about. So it breaks my heart to see 9-year-old, 6-year-old children getting shot in our community, and there's no real appropriate response. And it seems, and this is no, I guess, put down of this group, but you know, this Black Lives Matter. I want to know, when do they matter? When does Black Lives matter? Do they only matter when the police shoot us, or do they matter when Pookie and Ray Ray and John John shoot us? That is a question, but that's not for tonight. That may be another show.
Yes.
Back to drug-free.
Okay, yeah, and that should matter every day, because as a registered nurse, I have been working in an ER and seen a child come in the door with a gunshot, and it is nothing nice to see. It tears you up inside. But back to what you had asked me previously, which kind of ties into this. Every joint supplieth. If you think of every person as a part of your body, you can't walk without legs. You can't pick things up without arms. So we all have to be a part of the same core and work together. So that means the schools need to work with the parents. And the problem, a lot of times, I have to say this, being a parent and having worked with other parents and with schools, we can't blame it all on the schools. The schools did not make those children. They are there as their job. But your child should be more than just a job to you. And you should not expect the school to just come and take care of your child. Okay, if you don't participate, actively participate.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a child that has behavioral issues, they have a way to address that. But you have to actively participate. If you don't, that child gets lost in the weeds. And then you find that Pookie or Ray Ray on the street corner. Yeah. Okay, and if nobody else reaches out, they're raising themselves. And they're raising themselves based on what they see on TV, what they see on the street corner, and how they perceive it.
Right.
Perception is 98%
and you know,
of
and
reality.
listen, and I know that just talking from a parental perspective, that it's got to be difficult being a parent, you know, or challenging. I won't say difficult, but these are some challenging times, right? And so, in many cases, a lot of our children are latchkey children, and so, you know, the fact remains that 70% of African American households don't have, you know, two parents in them.
That's true.
And when you come down to Grand Boulevard, which is, you know, overwhelmingly majority an African American community, you know, where you have some stabilization of two-parent homes, and I'm not aware of the statistics there, but I will say this: there are a lot of children who parents are at work when they get out of school. Yes. And if you visit many of the businesses, which again, and I should give a shout out to the Alderman of the 3rd Ward, Alderman Dow,
yes.
For working with community organizations like John Cook and his Bronzeville Community Organization, and I think the CAT, Pastor Light. Chris Harris, Green Light, who have also worked to shut down some of those bad liquor stores and establishments who sold liquor or allowed young people to purchase liquor, who allowed drugs to be sold in their establishments. So I think through constant community support and community advocacy, they've been able to curtail those problems down there. Now, have there been some incidents with violence and shootings? Of course. But I think when it gets down to the issue of businesses not being responsible, and many of them, and I must say, are foreigners, which it doesn't make a difference. It's just the fact that they come in at 8 and they leave at 8 at night. So there's no real community commitment to the community or an investment, right? And so they're there to make money. Absolutely. By any means necessary. Bottom line is, many of us are subsidizing, their children and grandchildren's lifestyles. And so they allow adults, in many cases, to come in and purchase liquor and blunts and cigarettes. And by the way, if you don't know, in case you haven't heard, in the city of Chicago, you have to be 21 years old now to purchase cigarettes. So they raised the age from 18 to 21. So just a point of reference. And I should talk a little bit about who our partners are, since we talked about the Grand Boulevard Coalition, right? Yes. And one is, of course, Green Light Movement, is Roxanne Burnett, Greater Harvest Missionary Baptist Church, the Institute for Positive Living, Recovery 2000, my good friend Izetta Walton, the Bronzeville Community Clubhouse, John Cook, the Third Ward Alderman Pat Dow, and Centers for New Horizon. They've been great supporters, and they are a part of our Grand Boulevard Coalition. Yeah, and in CPS, I should be remiss, Mr. Lafayette Ford, who was with us, who is also the vice president. I am serving as the president currently of the group, of the organization, and I'm also a member of Vista Leaders. So I'm a Vista leader working with other young people, all young and adults, doing various community collaboratives and volunteering around the issues of education and prevention and communities across the state of Illinois, actually. So it's not just in Chicago. It is across Illinois. So again, this is a live show, 312-738-1060, 312-738-1060, and you are watching the Grand Boulevard Coalition, and we are talking about drug-free communities. And so, Roxanne, I do believe that when you look at the use of marijuana in our community by young people, so and the brother talked about there wasn't a brother, I'm sorry, the young lady called in about the shootings taking place, right? So in talking with several police, and I would be remiss, we also work with the 2nd District Police Station, and Ronald Holt, who's been really stellar to us, but given our statistics, I should say, has also been a member of our coalition. Ronald Holt is a commander in the victims department, I believe now the Chicago Police Department, and many of you would know that Ronald Holt lost his son, Blair Holt, I think 6 years ago, shot, innocent young man who was shot out in Roseland, trying to protect another young lady, right, leaving high school. So the point that I'm making to you is that what we've been told is a lot of young people, first of all, the young people who are shooting are much younger, who are carrying guns, right? And that a lot of young people are using marijuana. They're popping pills, in a sense, these hallucinogenic pills, and drinking liquid codeine, which in the street terms called lean or dirty Sprite, or so they. I'm not trying to be facetious or making a laughing matter. I'm being very serious about it. That some young people will use these drugs, smoke a joint, pop a Molly, drink some lean, and go out and shoot. So it's no surprise that they don't hit their target. Because they're high. They have no inhibitions. And so, and they're high. And so, and to a greater point, I question, you're a nurse. How does liquid codeine and Narcos and these type of strong prescription drugs get into the community? How is that?
There are a few ways that I know that they get into the community.
Okay.
One is you may go to your doctor. The doctor prescribes it for you, and instead of using it for yourself, you sell it at $20 a pill. Or, that unfortunately that happens. So the kid goes in with a parent. Oh, I'm in so much pain, and then they get the medication and they abuse the medication. That's a real problem. Actually, I'm not sure if you heard on the news today, but some of the local area hospitals have performed drills as early as this morning to prepare for Lollapalooza. They say that they have, the majority of the people that they will have will be alcohol poisoning. And in this instance, they aren't concerned about the children in our neighborhoods. They're more concerned about the suburban kids that come for Lolla. And most of them that they will treat will be females from the suburbs that have alcohol poisoning.
Well, interesting. Yeah, I forgot Lollapalooza is taking place this week.
Yes.
Well,
but we have Lolla every day when you think about it. We have kids come into the ER with alcohol poisoning on a daily basis. They don't understand that drinking, that's not a part of what should be put in your body. So when you drink too much of it, you can get poisoned, just like you could if you took some rat poison and ate it. So, we have to educate our youth so that they understand that there are consequences to what they do. And I understand, can I just say this? You were talking earlier about
please.
Single family homes. I am a product of a single family home, and I can tell you, although my mother worked for the city for 38 years, she'd come home and at some point in the day she would at least spend 10-15 minutes with me, although we did more than that, to find out what was going on in my life and to make sure she educated me. And I know it can be very difficult. It can, but parents, you have to put some time aside. Like we do it to get our hair done, to get our nails done. Nothing is more important than a child you brought into the world. So although it's difficult and it's a sacrifice, and you're already sacrificing and working, trying to keep a roof over their head, you'll have nobody to keep a roof over their head if you don't make the sacrifice to put some time in and find out what your kids are doing. And there's nothing wrong with being nosy. Look in your kids' room. See what's going on in that room. You pay for that room.
Right.
You pay rent, that's your space. They're just allowed to stay in it.
And I think this whole notion, well, I want to be friends with my child, listen, and I'm speaking as a parent. I am a parent, right? I think my youngest is 10, and my oldest is 18. And so, as a parent, I understand, but I'm not, and I've told all I'm not their friend. We're not friends. I'm their father, and so there's a certain role that I should have, and in many cases it's stern, but it's loving. Yeah. But it's probably more stern on my part, and strict, very. I'm just nosy. I'm all in their business because we're not friends. My children are not gonna come home and drink with me. They're not gonna come home and smoke with me. It's just not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. Well, this has been a great show, and unfortunately, our time is coming to an end. Yeah. Roxanne, do you have any closing remarks before we go?
Well, I agree with everyone out there. Our children are the most precious commodity that we have. And without them, there is no future. So if we want to protect our future, we have to protect our children. Take an interest in your child, someone else's child, because somebody else may need a hand. But do whatever you can to help to decrease the drug and the alcohol use and the violence in your community. That's your space. You pay taxes. Do something about it. You have to get into action.
Well, you have been watching another edition of the Grand Boulevard Coalition, brought to you by CAN TV. If you need to get in touch with us, you can call us 312-420-5582. I'm going to say it again slowly, 312-420-5582. I thank you, Ms. Roxanne Burnett of the Green Light Movement, one of our great partners. I've been your host, Bomani Obadelli. Until now, next week, hey, stay cool. God bless. Peace.
Peace.